welcome to another episode of Tiger Territory, part of the Battle Territory Network, a Detroit Tigers podcast. I'm Kieran Steckley. With me, as always, is a man who wishes that someone would toss sunflower seeds his way after he does something really good at his job. He is Cody Stavenhagen. How you doing?
Doing great. I would gladly take that too. Sunflower seeds, come on.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty celebratory, and that's really the only distinguishing feature of a Tigers home run these days. And I still maintain the theory that this is like a juju thing that you don't want to mess up because
Yeah, at this point, don't add some stupid, corny celebration. We're this deep in the season. You got the best record in the league. We don't need some stupid prop. We just don't need it.
no, I mean, whatever is going is working, and what is going right now is Colt Keith. So we are recording this shortly after Tuesday's game in which the Tigers clinched another series. I believe that's the 21st of the season, this time versus the Tampa Bay Rays. 4-2 victory today, 5-1 victory on Monday. And a little inside baseball for everybody out there, Cody. Like, we know these midweek pods, like, there's only so much you can talk about with two games. So I'm like, try to get like a theme and then kind of work in what happened. And
Right.
the theme we were gonna do was Colt Keith, and I had prepped all these stats and like got like a graphic and like all this stuff. And I was like, well, no matter what, we'll be able to talk about it because he's been on a hot stretch. And well, the no matter what was he's even better. So all these numbers I'm about to lay for you guys are technically outdated, but it shows just how much of a tear he has been. And obviously he had the home run today. He had the RBI single opposite field earlier in the game, 2 doubles in a home run as well on Monday. So here's the funniest thing about Colt Keith is that this guy was never, ever, 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 ever supposed to be heralded as a leadoff hitter. And let me tell you, the numbers say my man's a leadoff hitter. This is what he's done in the leadoff spot. Now, technically, this includes when he's pinch hit a couple times for the number one batting position, but those are pretty small numbers there. So more or less, this is when he is the starting leadoff hitter. He is a 286 hitter. He is a 339 on base and a 536 slug. If you want to do math, that's an 874 OPS for Colt Keith when he is your leadoff hitter. Now, just in general, he's a 264, 344, 435, 779. Not bad. And keep in mind, those numbers are a little bit up now. And in July, Cody, 11 for 23. This is this is like his new role now. It's not his like number one batting position yet, but it's getting there. It's only a couple games behind like a fourth or whatever. So like more or less, your leadoff hitter for your first place, your number one seed Tigers, is Colt Keith, a guy who, when the weather is cold, is rather cold, but as soon as the weather warms up, my man is off to the races. Pun. So, what do you kind of make of what we're seeing from Colt Keith right now?
Yeah, proud to say I was not among those calling for Colt Keith to get sent down earlier in the year. We knew it was there with this kid. Like, he is a talented hitter. He was a legit prospect, and his carrying tool was his ability to hit the baseball. I have a lot of faith in his offensive ability. It'd be nice if, one day he's not terrible in April. Check back on that next year. He's pretty good when it's not April. He's hitting, I think, 306 since May 1st. I mean, this is a prolonged stretch, and it's been a little bit quiet for a while, in part because there hasn't really been a lot of power. Now we're starting to see a little power. We're starting to see Colt Keith get to the ball to the pull side in the air. At least the last 2 nights he's done that. And that's continued. That was a thing with him coming up through the minors last season, this year. Last year he had a 14% clip of pulling the ball in the air. It's not very good. This year it's only 14.9. So it hasn't been a lot better, but he's starting to get there. Oddly enough, it's like, hey man, how are you doing this? I stopped trying to do it. That's pretty much been his answer, in addition to the whole fun beard storyline from Cheap Razors in Cleveland. He's swinging easy. He says he's swinging 75%, and oddly enough, that's somehow allowing him to catch the ball more out front, maybe than just tightening up too much, slowing down his swing. Maybe that's just all mental. Who knows? It's the mysteries of baseball. But Colt Keith is getting to the ball to the pull side a little bit. He's starting to tap into some power, which he's a big boy. You'd like to see him hit for some power. And then you look up, he's got an 800 OPS. It's like, oh yeah, he's not yet 24 years old. Colt Keith is a really good hitter. Proud to say I was also not among those trying to trade him for much of anything, because you got this guy for a long time on a really team-friendly contract. We'll see what the upside is. He's got to be able to pull the ball in the air more consistently to be that real power type guy that maybe you want him to be, but he has a good approach. He has great hand-eye coordination. He's smart. He's adjustable. Now it's July. Now we're kind of seeing all that come to fruition here at the apex of a pretty big hot streak.
Yeah, so you mentioned since May 1st. I just did it from May 3rd, and that's coming into today's game. 310, 360, 519, 880 OPS, 5 home. I mean, this is not a small sample size that we're seeing. This is a good chunk of the season, obviously, and you mentioned the adjustability and the simplicity and some of the natural strength. So we actually saw that over these past couple of days. That the most impressive thing that I've noticed from Colt in this stretch is his ability to do it all and use the whole field, use the whole play. So, example, he pokes it the other way, like I mentioned, not going to be bragging about that one on the exit velocity, but yeah, Zach McKinstry on second. He knows all he's got to do is get that to the outfield and a run scoring in that situation to tie the game. Obviously, that's a crucial point. And then I'll go back. He hit the changeup again today and clobbered that. But I want to go back to Monday when that home run was up, in, and 95 miles an hour fastball.
Mm-hmm.
And so I mentioned this with Vierling sometimes, like his hands are really quick where he can get up on those elevated inside fastballs and do damage. And Colt Keith from the other side, that's impressive to me, because how many times have we seen Riley Green swing under that ball? How many times have we seen Wenzel Perez swing underneath that ball? And Colt Keith was able to square. It's not like he has his hands up that high either, but he's short, he's compact. That's like natural strength and quick hands, if anything was an example of that. So that's the most impressive thing to me with Colt, is that he's able to do damage on different types of pitches and different locations and do exactly what the situation calls for. And as you said, 23, turns 24 in August, I believe. Mm-hmm. So this is advanced level stuff. It's not just impressive. It's advanced level stuff that we're seeing from a guy, and also an example of sometimes, like, man, so you got to give these kids a little bit of time, just a little bit of time, and it will pay off. And in really early payoffs. He's already a 1.0 WAR player that's going to go up slightly after today's game, and not to mention all the stuff that they're able to do with him defensively in terms of just like different places they can put him. I know he's grades out as a below average defender, but the fact that you can put him there is something of itself. And one more thing, Cody, about Colt Keith that I found fascinating. He's had this reputation for being like kind of the bigger guy, but not necessarily the most fleet of foot, not necessarily the most agile or whatever. What if I told you that his base running run value on Baseball Savant is in the 91 percentile?
Wow. I'm surprised by that. I wouldn't have thought he was a bad base runner, but I would have guessed average. That surprises me.
68 percentile speed, 91 percentile base running run value. So you talked about instincts and all that stuff. I mean, that's a great example of having that in spades. So,
Well, a couple more little numbers for you, Kieran. Strikeout rate, walk rate, chase rate. Generally pretty good predictive stats for hitters. Something that can be important to look at for guys early in their career. His strikeout rate has stayed the same from last year, 19.8%. Not bad at all. his walk rate has taken a big jump from 6.5%, which is a little bit below average, to 11%, which is that's a great walk rate. His overall swing rate has declined, so he's not being jumpy. His chase rate is down to 22.9%. This is a guy who has an ability to control the zone. We've seen him get it a little bit jumpy, I think, at some of the low points in his MLB career. But overall, that's a profile of a guy who's going to be able to take walks, who's not going to chase bad pitches, who can put the ball in play. And again, if he continues to tap into just a little bit more of this power, that's the makeup of a pretty good hitter from the left side.
Yeah, and if memory serves, I don't think he had a hit in the wild card series against Houston, but he had 4 walks. So that's another example of what you're talking about there. And I think we've done Colt Keith a good amount of justice here because he deserves it. But there are some other storylines that we got to get to. But first, a word from our sponsors.
Hey, let's do a little player spotlight thanks to Arena Club. AJ, give me a player this season that you think is underrated and you might want to try and grab his card.
James Wood. I don't know that he's underrated, but Washington Nationals superstar in the making. And the first slab pack I ever opened had him in it. His rookie card, and the value is only going to go up and up and up. And I'm not going to sell it quite yet, Scott. I'm going to hold on to it because after he continues to hit big homers and put up the stats, make all-star teams, it's going to get more expensive for someone to buy for me.
This is his first full season in the majors. Keep that in mind. I think he's underrated. He's on a Nationals team that's meh, not getting enough attention.
He might hit underrated 40 homers. When he makes the All-Star team this year, they're not going to be underrated.
That helps. He's been intentionally walked 4 times in a game. Anyway, if you want to try and find a Wood rookie card, go check out slab packs on Arena Club. And right now you can get 20% off your first slab pack, or if you just want to go with a card purchase, go to arenaclub.com/FOUL. Use code FOUL. If you buy, sell, trade, collect, go for it.
Coming back here, I was thinking about this earlier today, Cody. We've had a wide range of, we'll just say this calendar year, Jack Flaherty discussions because we've seen a wide range of Jack Flaherty outcomes. And so, like you said, I wish I could remember. It was probably in April. Like, what if Jack Flaherty's your 4? Mm-hmm. And it's like, that's a pretty good 4. And I think that's kind of what we saw today. And again, I'm not even trying to like knock him when he had a good day today, right. But like we spent our last episode talking about how awesome Mize was and like what Reese Olson can do. And, this guy named Scooble, I don't know if you ever heard of him, but like Flaherty today, the fastball velo was not a problem, even though one of them went out the yard, but he worked the knuckle curve very effectively, mixed in the slider. That's essentially what he threw. Obviously you throw in, throwing some other, but the fastball, knuckle, and slider combination was working for him today. He got the swing and miss, 7 hits, 2 runs early. So he buckled down, 8 Ks and 1 walk, and really, 6 1/3, but kind of got robbed, if we're being honest, a chance to go a complete 7, by the Javier play, throw, I should say. So Jack Flaherty, kind of a reminder of what could be. I mean, this is obviously not his peak, but what could be when he's trending in the right direction today.
Yeah, his last 3 starts have been all solid results. I don't know that any of it was spectacular. I don't know that any of it was the top level Jack Flaherty stuff we've seen at times in the past, but I'm encouraged by the strikeouts. 9 strikeouts his last outing, 8 strikeouts here tonight. He really had the knuckle curve going, which is always good to see. He had a 34 called strike whiff percentage. He wasn't really getting lucky. Even the home run ball is a little bit over the plate, but hey, 95, good hitter got around and beat him. It wasn't like when he left 190 to Ellie De La Cruz and you're like, bro, what are you doing? It was like, another guy, maybe you get that by him. Seems like it's been some small steps forward for Jack. Now, I do think we kind of declared him back like earlier this season, and then he went on to completely fall apart. So I'm not going to declare him back. I'm going to say if he keeps pitching like this, yeah, he might be your 4th best, and that might be a pretty good number 4, and maybe that's okay, especially when there's more in the tank, especially when You want to have someone on the staff other than Tarek Skubal who can really miss bats. You still have that in Jack Flaherty, even when his fastball is not good. The slider, the knuckle curve, he gets a lot of whiffs. That can be valuable. I don't know. I just think if Jack can sustain this level of performance, everyone's going to be really happy. It's fluctuated a lot this year, so I don't want to make any proclamations. Historically, or at least last season, the second half got a little tough for him. The stuff declined as the year went along. So he's got, I think, a lot left to prove, but especially after a couple really rough outings, it's good to see him back stabilized, right?
Yeah, like there's a lot of times I wish I could go underneath the hood on how the Tigers operate, because I think it's fascinating and the results, speak for themselves. But like the Flaherty conversations and then what's actually kind of happening behind the scenes, I would just love to know, because we know the natural athleticism is there. We know that pure stuff can be there, and then it's always like thrown around like mechanics or this, and then and then he's working on some more basic level things, like almost like the finer points of pitching to a 30-year-old, which I'm not overrating. Everybody is capable of getting better like almost at any time in their career, but like the lab work on Jack Flaherty to get to this point, which you're talking about, being, several starts of solid play. And then the second half element, which we didn't get to witness, up close and personal last season. And then what we saw it from afar. And then the Tigers were obviously very comfortable with what they saw, in the second half, and that they could be corrected and blah, blah, blah. Like how that plays out, I am very, very fascinated by, because I think that's probably going to be one of those kind of ever evolving concepts. Like I don't think Jack's ever going to be like left alone to do his thing.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's okay. That's okay. Like he's a guy that there's a pretty good mold there to shape in terms of being an effective pitcher, and a lot to prove. Like, not to get way too ahead of ourselves, like he's going to make some money if he does nothing this offseason. But like, I'm sure in the back of his head, yeah, he still has a lot to prove in general to the baseball world, because he has not gotten the contractual offers that he feels like he's owed. So he's still going to be a motivated guy. He's not a made man by any stretch of the imagination. And
yeah, he's probably going to opt into this deal unless he just
right.
really is electric post All-Star break.
But it's still something that could happen. It's still it's still in the list of outcomes for Flaherty and this team long term. So so that's just something like in the back of the head. There's still a lot for Jack to quote unquote prove or whatever. And that's it's not often you get a guy that's kind of been in this situation. He just got a ring and then does the comeback. And it's all feel good, but there's still like all that. There's still like rope to grab for him. So I think that process is going to be very fascinating to see. I wish I knew it all. I wish I was privy to that information. Unfortunately,
Sure.
I am not.
Well, you want to move on to a pitcher who mystifies me almost as much as Jack Flaherty? Because that's
Sure.
Keider Montero, who was, results-wise, pretty stellar against the Rays. 6 innings, 1 earned run, 4 punch-outs. You go back, Kieran, into May. His last 6 starts, he has a 2.30 ERA. But even more than our friend Casey Mize, he's like vastly outperforming all the metrics. And that time he has a 2.3 ERA. His FIP is 4.94. So that's fielding independent pitching. It's basically saying this is an oversimplification, but take luck out of the equation and his ERA would be almost 5. Like, that is vastly different. Even Monday against the Rays, the results were great, but he had only 2 swings and misses the whole game.
First
He
one
got
in like
18,
the 6th, right?
Yeah. Yes. He got, I think, 18 called strikes, which in a way was good. He was living in the zone, but he like had a low pitch count, which would indicate the Rays were in swing mode, except they took 18 called strikes. When they did swing, they had an average exit velocity of almost 95 miles an hour. they were belting some line drives to the outfield that just got caught. They were right at guys. And I was like, I have no idea what to make out of that outing, because there's certain numbers you could like. There's certain things you're like, he should have gotten absolutely pummeled. And you can kind of see that going back through this 6-start stretch in which he's been really good. And yet he got optioned in the middle of it and left down. Dietrich Inns was called up to start a game over him, in part because the Tigers had some things they wanted him to work on. So a little bit mystifying. And yet you look at the real results and it's like, why does this guy keep going up and down? He probably should be your 5th starter for the time being, and leave that alone unless you're just trying to get an extra relief pitcher, when you have off days and such. So Keider Montero, a little bit of a puzzle. I actually feel like good about him, but kind of mystifying. I don't know. What do you think?
No, the way I look at it is, all right, what am I missing? Because like I feel better about him than the Tigers obviously do based on their roster management, including him. Because remember, I said post Job, I was like, all right, well, get you an apartment in Detroit. You know what I mean? Like, talking about Montero, because it's like it just seemed obvious. And then, they're kind of using him as that extra roster spot in a way, bat, reliever, whatever the situation calls for. And, which, by the way, happy late birthday, Montero just turned 25, still a pup. And you're by far, I say by far, it's obviously these numbers are close this time of the season, but he's by far your 4th best starting pitcher just in terms of WAR. He's a .8 WAR guy. I mean, Flaherty, we just gave him flowers, came into today, the definition of replacement level. Obviously, Skubal, Mize, and Olsen ahead of him. So it seems like it ought to be him, but there's obviously something that we're missing. And so again, the whole like under the hood thing, would love to get a good measure on that. I mean, he's got a 1.06 ERA plus. I think Jack Flaherty's like 5-9, and Montero's 4-1. So there's your win-loss record for those that care about that. And it seems like
Kieran, part of it's lineup dependent. Left-handed batters have a 990 OPS. And that's part of what he was in Toledo to work on, was his arsenal against lefties. So that's a big part of it right there. Even though it hasn't burned him in terms of results in the past 6 starts, there are certain teams I think the Tigers do not want him seeing.
Sure. And also I would say maybe the number 1 top 3, not 3 guy on the 40-man, where it's like, I hope you guys are having great communication with him in regards to how, like, you're using him or not using him, or bringing him up, bringing him down. I would almost put like J-Hen in that category as well. Just like guys that you like, that you deem valuable, but you're moving back and forth a little bit, and you got to make sure that, everything upstairs is okay. You know what I mean? Because like it's sometimes it can seem like hollow words when it's like, we value you, you're going to be a part of this team. Go 60 minutes down the road real quick for a week or two, and then we'll hit you up again. So I would
say big picture, the way the Tigers have managed this pitching staff is pretty smart, even though it seems like guys like Montero get yanked around and certain relievers are kind of churned. Like it's basically expanding your roster. It's utilizing every guy at your disposal, being able to be flexible based on what team you're playing, based on how the schedule lays out. Like, I think it's smart. But you're right, there can be a human toll to that. And in a way, I think Keider Montero deserves a lot of credit, because it's probably not easy going from Toledo to Detroit to Toledo, pitching well in Detroit. Hey, you're still going back to Toledo. That doesn't sound very fun to me. I would not really like to experience that, other than like the whole being in the big leagues part. That'd be cool. That's not easy on a player, and he's pretty much been ready at every turn and answered the call, and there's something to say about that as well.
Yes, and we will get to some of the other storylines from this series, but first, a word from our sponsors.
Kratz, we talk about HelloFresh a lot, but In the Same Fam is another option for you if you're looking to go on your little wellness journey, or you're very picky in terms of what you're looking for ingredients-wise. You can go Green Chef this summer.
And I can heat and eat, because this summer
I've got like 3 days where I'm not doing anything, and sure, those are going to get scheduled with something. Let's give me something super quick that I can heat up. The whole family's eating healthy, and they're full.
Menus change weekly, 80-plus dietitian-approved weekly meal options. Green Chef makes it easy to find those meals to fit your lifestyle, so go check it out. FT fam, there is an exclusive offer. Make this summer your healthiest yet with Green Chef. Head to greenchef.com/50territory and use code 50territory to get 50% off your first month, then 20% off for 2 months with free shipping. That's code 50territory at greenchef.com/50territory.
All right, coming back here, last week was such a dominating conversation with the three All-Star starters, and then obviously Schoolbowl gets named to the Midsummer Classic as well. It To the layman, you might think this is kind of a top-heavy team because you only had one All-Star other than the starters, and then we've seen over the past couple of days, just like I say, we as in a baseball nation, Tigers fans don't need a reminder of this, of just like really how deep this team is and can be on any given night. The McKinstry play on Sunday, obviously, and then hitting the home run on Monday. Torque is the home run today. Dingler's swinging a nice bat right now as well. I mean, sometimes I just stop to think like, man, it's actually unbelievable how deep this Tigers roster is. Zach McKinstry having lead segments on MLB Network talking about like his versatility, and like there's like 19 games that he's played a different position than the one he started in this year, which is like third or fourth in the American League, something like that. And then the Torque piece, I give Tigers fans a lot of credit. They want Torque to get all the credit, and I appreciate that. Sometimes I got to think, okay, well, there's still this measurement, there's still this. Sometimes I just got to say, well, the dude's hitting 800 OPS right now. He drew a couple walks, like, smart at bats, which, by the way, we should have mentioned that 3-2 changeup that Colt had earlier. But it's like Colt Keith, Dylan Dingler, Zach McKinstry, Spencer Torkelson, like all these like other guys making plays that have kind of carried the team a little bit during a stretch that no one would confuse them for playing their best baseball. This is a whole baseball team. I just felt like this was another example of that. FS1 on Monday, national broadcast, another example of that.
Kieran, this could be a whole episode in itself, but like, what timeline are we living in? Like this is a good team, and we're talking about everything in the lens of the postseason. Like, I've expressed like concerns about the bullpen. That's not because I think the team's bad or the team's on shaky ground. It's because we're like, can the Tigers win the World Series? And it's also like, there was one day around August 11th last year that a switch just flipped. They went from being a subpar team to the best team in baseball. It was so sudden, and they had the foundation. You had Schoolbowl, you had some talented hitters, but as I step back and I just like, what is the secret, or beyond like being really good at development, what did the front office do to create this so quickly? And I almost struggle to come up with like a simple or even straightforward answer to that question. I think it probably didn't come as suddenly, like the results came suddenly due to things that were in the works, under the surface, percolating, that took some time. Some of that's just having young hitters. But then you also look up and you're like, but dude, no one saw Javi Baez being in the All-Star game, and no one saw Zach McKinstry maybe being in the All-Star game, and very few people saw Torque having a resurgent season. And ain't no one expected Chase Lee and Brant Herter and all these pitchers to give you quality innings. Like, when you really step back, if there's ever a book written about this team, is there an explanation? Is there going to be Scott Harris like, here is the Billy Bean, crap I was doing all along?
Yeah.
Or is it like, no, man, this was amazing, we didn't fully expect it either? I don't actually know the full answer to that question. I did like, again, that could be a whole episode in itself, but it's wild. It's actually kind
they're
of
kind
wild.
of a tidal wave, man. Like they just kind of come at you like over and over and over again with all these different matchups and all these guys, making plays. Like it's like I put it out on X a couple times. Like it almost feels like inevitable. It's all right. You got a couple run
Right.
lead. Like like I hope you enjoy it while it lasts because you're just gonna have to take this L in some way, And yeah, I haven't used this phrase in a while, but I used it at the beginning of Scott Harris's tenure. But it just does feel like it's a team full of HKGs, Harris kind of guys, like Javi
Way.
Baez buying into the versatility element, like Torkelson buying into the not the swing change, but the batting element changes that they wanted him to do. Colt Keith buying into the defensive versatility. Zach McKinstry buying into literally everything. Torres coming in and being like exactly the kind of player that Scott Harris like asked him to be, including doing things at a higher level than he was known for. So
The
it's
funny thing about that, Kieran, the whole dominate the strike zone thing, offensively, they're not that good at. They rank 17th in walk rate, like below league average in walk rate and above league average, ninth highest strikeout rate. They don't really dominate the strike zone to a crazy degree.
you have principles until you just have the talent. I guess I guess that's the exception there. And I wanted to like kind of bring this all full circle by going into like a national talking point that's been the talk of baseball with trade deadline coming up. And I did also want to say to all our viewers and listeners that there's this communication app called Chat BCC, and you can go to Chat BCC foulterritory.chat, and it's the best way to interact with your favorite foul territory hosts. We're hanging out with fans, answering questions, hosting trivia, running giveaways like 2 free MLB tickets up to a $400 value and a free MLB jersey of your choice. So if you got a hot take or a burning question, drop it in the chat. Might even be featured on Foul Territory shows. So it's free to join, foulterritory.chat. Go and hang there. And one of the, I would say, big talking points nationally, Cody, would be this Brian Hayes cloud that's kind of hanging over everything. And it's been reported. We talked about in the offseason. I was a fan, but that was also under the pretenses I didn't think that McKinstry was going to be a nearly 3-WAR player at at the All-Star break. I didn't think that Javi was going to be an All-Star starter, and I didn't know what Torque's role was going to be. And, all these things, a lot has changed since we talked about Brian Hayes. It seems, I'm a big guy about things leak for a reason, and
Seemed a little fishy with this one.
I don't know. I'm not making any judgments or assumptions. I'm just going to tell you that a couple times Brian Hayes' name has been floated out there to national reporters, and it's always teams. The 3 teams that are mentioned are the Tigers, the Cubs, and the Yankees. That's best team in baseball, one of the best teams in baseball, and up until very recently, the second best team in the American League / leader of the American League East. Seems like Pittsburgh not really going anywhere. Want to get my guy over to a better situation with a better franchise. It's not hey, the Nationals are thinking about getting Brian Hayes. You know what I mean? So I went and looked at the numbers. The good is he's a 1.5 defensive WAR player. And as of now, that's almost a bad it. He is a negative offensive WAR player. He's a right-handed bat, does not hit lefties right now, really at all, nor for any power. He's under contract for at least 4 more years. Now, it is a low number, but at least 4 more years. And the only thing, I guess there is something else you could say. He's kind of overachieved against breaking and off-speed pitches because power-wise, but those are in small sample sizes, and he's getting killed on the fastball. So the only thing I could come up with is maybe some regression protection where you have a bigger sample size of him being an everyday player. Something happens to somebody, and you can at least put him out there, know you have a stud defensively at third base. But I need some. I'm always down for more information. I need someone to tell me something I'm missing on Brian Hayes right now, based on what we see.
Yeah, I would be highly surprised if the Tigers had any legitimate interest in acquiring Brian Hayes at this trade deadline. I'm gonna be honest, I don't even remember what I said when we talked about him this winter. I was looking at like he could be an intriguing buy low option back when we thought the Tigers needed a third baseman if they weren't going to be able to get Alex Bregman. Well, we live in a very different world now. Zach McKinstry's been a great player. I've pointed out multiple times, I think Colt Keith's ability going back to third base really changes this picture. He's a guy, if he's hitting like this, you're trying to get as many at-bats as you can. You don't want to do anything to take that away. So do you even need to chase anyone at third base, let alone a Brian Hayes? We look at the overall profile here and the idea of buying low, hoping for a bounce back, well, that has not happened. He's one of the worst qualifying hitters in baseball. He has all of 2 home runs. He has a 494 OPS against lefties, a 64 OPS plus. And although he's on a team-friendly deal, he's under contract through 2029. You're paying him $7 million, $8 million for the foreseeable future. He's a great defender, but that doesn't seem to really check any boxes that the Tigers need right now. Like, that seems insane.
Yeah, well, I went and looked even like at the Jazz trade from last year from from the Marlins to the Yankees, and just tried to find like some similarities on like getting a guy at his not peak value. But Jazz does a lot more than Brian does, especially at the plate. So like, I don't know. I just maybe you guys get on. I'm on Chat BCC. Maybe you guys need to tell me like what I'm missing here, because I'm open to it. Like in general, like I'll never be closed off to more information, but I just don't see what the Tigers are acquiring if they go and get a Brian Hayes at the trade deadline, and the Colt Keith element, the Baez element, the McKinstry element. You're actually kind of crowded with options that you can throw at third base. Obviously, none of them are the defender of Brian there, but at the same time, like they are obviously more complete players than Brian Hayes. So if I'm missing something, holla at your boy and let me know. All right. Oh man, today was Colt Keith's day, man. It's so much fun to watch him. He's such an underrated story. I still don't know if we gave it justice with what he's been able to do at his age and the way he's been, used in different situations and had to adjust on the fly. It's very impressive. It's proven to be one of the more savvy moves Scott Harris ever made. Sign him to that contract extension, which Colt Keith called. It's either going to be a great deal for Scott Harris or or I'm a failure. And one way is looking more than the other right there, Cody. Anything else before we jet out of here?
No, all good. I wouldn't have signed that contract, man. Maybe I would have just for the money, but like, woof. That's it. I think it's a team-friendly deal and looking like one of Scott's better moves. You're right.
HKG to the fullest right there. All right, you can follow us on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Cody Stavenhagen. I'm at Kieran_Steckley. Pod page at Tiger Territory _ YouTube, Instagram, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. We appreciate all of you. So for Cody Stavenhagen, I'm Kieran Steckley. Everybody have a great day.